President Johnson, candidate Johnson at the time, became upset with a faith group in Texas due to their opposition to his political campaign, and therefore we have the Johnson Amendment, which essentially linked the concept of receiving tax exemption to non-participation in campaign events. Churches are 501c3 organizations in the sense that they are automatically tax exempt by virtue of being a church. That's about a 17-point fact and circumstance test. Do you have a Sunday school? Are you preaching? Do you have worship services? And so almost every church that gathers on a Sunday is going to meet that test if they're doing the things that churches do. And so they fall into that category, and then essentially their speech is limited. But you have the actual provisions of the Johnson Amendment, and then you have the chilling effect of the Johnson Amendment, because you have groups like the Freedom from Religion Foundation, others in society basically saying, hey, this provision, the Johnson Amendment, prohibited churches from speaking about the arena of politics altogether. And I'll tell you, I have received consistent communication over the years in my ministry or statements that basically, I can't talk about topics like abortion or human sexuality because I will lose my tax exemption, or our church might lose our tax exemption. So this amendment had its exact specific provisions, but then it had its kind of chilling effect, and the misunderstanding of the Johnson Amendment is very pervasive. And I think it has critically impacted the church's role as conscience in our society. The Internal Revenue Service signed on to a pleading essentially asking for a settlement of a case that finally clarified the Johnson Amendment, a prohibition on churches intervening in or participating in the political process. So it clarified the Johnson Amendment and stated that essentially pastors speaking to their congregation or churches speaking to their congregation through other means, specifically mentioning candidates and even advocating for their defeat or for their election, that does not run afoul of the Johnson Amendment. This is a clarification that Christians in the public square have waited for a very long time. I've been involved in at least 2 different efforts to try to bring the IRS to the table to say, what exactly does this mean? Please clarify that this does not impact the pulpit when a pastor is preaching. That is a sacred space, and the IRS should not in any way be dictating what pastors can and cannot say there.